Hey, it's Tony Brueski, and this is our week in review over the weekend, taking a look back at some of the most compelling conversations and stories that we've covered for you of the last week. Brand new episodes back Monday morning, bright and early, 5 a.m. here on the podcast.
This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski,
featuring retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer.
I want to talk about what is going on, what we're witnessing with the Heuermann family right now. They're out on their lawn quite a bit. They're barbecuing. Neighbors saying this is very bizarre. They never used to do this sort of thing. Obviously, cameras are on them when they're in their front yard. Their reason, their attorney saying the house is uninhabitable. It's literally piled floor to ceiling with debris. I would argue it was probably like that prior to the FBI coming in as well. But this is an interesting thing. I mean, there are programs out there for assisting victims like this, which is what she is viewed as right now. They're not charged with any crime, not supposedly under any sort of suspicion, but to help victims after things like this happen, after the house is raided and it's another family member that's responsible. Do we know if Asa Alrup has taken advantage of any of those services, or what exactly is going on? We're talking several weeks here. We all have things in our life that our houses have problems and we get them fixed up and we go back and live in there. Is this an attention thing, or is this, I don't know, is she not being able to get the assistance that she needs?
Well, I'm keeping in mind the fact that she is leveling suit against the authorities for the condition of her home. So it behooves her really not to fix it all up. She wants to keep it in that state so that she can say, look, it's been weeks and I've had to live in this situation and I can't get any help, or I can't get suitable help. So the longer she lives in that, certainly it would help possibly a civil claim, because as days roll by, so does money, in terms of if she were to win, the days she could say that she was living someplace uninhabitable. But Tony, when you go into a search situation, the first thing you do is take entry photos of everything. You make sure you document exactly what it looked like. And we do sketches. You want to make sure that, because photos don't necessarily show how tall things were, how wide things were. In this case, how much hoarding was going on floor to wall. And so you want to get all those measurements done. So the situation of that home was in before law enforcement came is going to be very well documented. And I can tell you, law enforcement, it's not like the old days, and I'm not talking about with the Bureau, but having work on task force for 15 years with the locals. So sometimes they would go in and not restore things exactly right. In other words, you go through a dresser drawer and you throw it on the ground. You don't pick it all back up and put it back. The Bureau does not operate that way. And law enforcement as a whole has gotten away from that. They don't want lawsuits. They want to restore the property to, as much as they can, how they found it. So I believe that this isn't going anywhere.
Is this, it's really interesting when you look at it, because you look at her and you go, I feel horrible for you. You found out your husband did these sort of things. You got your children here who are adults, one has special needs, and then all of this is going on. And on top of that, then we have the story of the cats, which I also find interesting, of the cats being sent to a kill shelter. A lot of these things, a lot of these claims, do they hold ground? Is this really what happened? Is this really how poorly she was treated? Or, is this standard for how these sort of things go? Or are we missing some piece of the puzzle here where they were reached out to and someone said, hey, we need you to do this and get your cats back and this or that? Are we just not hearing that piece of the puzzle, or is this just kind of how it went down?
Well, I think it's very one-sided because the other side is keeping a closed lip on it, right? So we're really hearing it from Rex Heuermann's, soon to be, it would seem, ex-wife's side of things. And I believe that's why it's a little tainted in the media right now. But the bottom line is, right now she's a victim. You stated it very clearly. Until we find out otherwise, I just think this whole offensive front that she and her camp are going down this road is so unique. Typically, victims of serial killers and others. They want to maintain their privacy. They don't want to be in the news. They don't want to be in their lawn. Many of them leave their homes. They sell them, or at least that property would still be worth a lot, even if the house weren't on it. So I find the whole thing very interesting and confusing, probably like many of your listeners.
It's a weird thing to say, but the observation I'm making right now is it feels like she's being opportunistic in terms of the lawsuit, in terms of look at me, look at how horrible things are for me. I could be wrong, but that's the vibe I'm getting.
Well, this is a woman that at least reportedly is struggling with cancer, obviously struggling with all these other issues. So she certainly is being painted as quite a vulnerable and sympathetic character with everything that's being put out there. But, to your point, what person wants all of that on the front page news?
That's my question. Yeah, that's what makes it very odd. There's just something off and odd, and maybe she's just an off and odd person, and we interpret her differently than the way that she's intending to come across, which could very well be the case. It's just with all of the smoke, it's like, what's going on here?
Or maybe, Tony, sometimes people, when they want to deflect other parts of a possible investigation or look-see at her, deflect by keeping the media and the public focused in another area other than other areas where people could be looking. Just putting that out there.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
Want more? Start binging on all of our true crime podcasts right now through Apple Podcasts and get an ad-free experience when you sign up to be a True Crime Today Premium Plus member exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
More of the Hidden Killers Podcast dropping soon.
Press subscribe now.